Hi friends, welcome to Love Good Lane. My name is Matthew. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to discuss Fiesta ware today. I have a decent sized collection of Fiesta ware. It is a dinnerware, crockery, bowls and plates and pitchers and that sort of thing line. You've probably heard of it, maybe not. If you haven't heard of it or don't know much about it, I bet you've seen it because it is generally popular. I do want to say that I am not an expert in Fiesta, but I do know some stuff. And so I thought it would be fun today to take you through some of my collection and just show you what I have, some interesting pieces. I do have some that are a little bit more rare and also maybe higher in value, because some of the older pieces, especially if it's a limited edition or they didn't produce very many of an item in a certain color, they're worth more money. So I don't have a full list of every piece that I have, but I'll share with you a few of the pieces, what their estimated value is, just so you get a sense of what we're talking about with some of these things. So Fiesta ware is produced by the Homer Laughlin Company. It's based in West Virginia. It still is based in West Virginia, and it's a family-run business. It's been around for a long time. It's still open. You can still go to their website and buy pieces direct, and you can also buy it in other retailers. I think it may be available at Kohl's department stores, possibly JCPenney, and some other places. So it was started in 1936 in response to the Great Depression. The owner of the company, the patriarch, thought that America needed something that was brighter in color and to lift the spirits and to get everybody feeling good. So they came out with these colorful, elegant, attainable, they weren't like $400 a piece items for the everyday American to make them feel good. So it started in 1936. If you see me glancing down, I did take some notes so that I can try to stay on track. You know how that goes with me. But the original colors in 1936 were red, which sometimes is referred to as radioactive red, and it's actually not a red, it's an orange color. But that's what people are referring to if you hear them say radioactive red or Fiesta red. It's actually orange. But it was in the orange. It was in ivory. Do I have? I do. Here's a bowl that's in ivory. Green, which was a light green. And do I have an example of that? I do, I think. I think this is one. This is a luncheon plate in that color. There was they just called it blue. Oftentimes now it's referred to as cobalt blue, but it's a dark blue. This is a juice tumbler in the blue, the cobalt. I'll talk more about those in a second. And then yellow, which this is an example of the yellow. Actually, I think this is one of the newer yellows. I have this is the original yellow. And again, I'll talk more about those in a second, but that's an example of the color. And turquoise, which is this color. Yeah. And then a year later, they added the light blue. So those were the original colors. The radioactive red, the orange color, it was discontinued in 1943. It was brought back much later, several decades later. So there are pieces that are produced much later on. I will say that a lot of the pieces from the original line, from those first almost 10 years, that were produced in that color are more rare and they're a little bit more valuable. And all the pieces that were done in the original collection have more of a rounded shape, more of an Art Deco style, which makes sense for that time period. So those were the original colors. And then in 1950, they introduced some of the other, I would call them classic colors, like the pink, which is like a rosy pink. And do I have an example of that? Oh, I do. I have a platter. Here's that rose pink, which is fitting. It's very 1950s, don't you think? The gray, I actually have a lid here. In the gray. And what else? Other colors. Oh, the forest green, which I do have a plate. Oh, I have a bowl too. I can show you that. There's the forest green. And the chartreuse, which is this color. So it's a little bit more vibrant than the light green in the original collection, but it's not the aqua, the turquoise color. So those were the colors that were introduced in sort of the next wave in 1950. And then in 1959, they added the medium green. I don't know if I have any of the medium green. And then in 1959, the red, which is actually orange, it comes back. It makes an appearance with several of those pieces. So, and then at the same time in 1959, they discontinued several of those original colors. So we only had the yellow, the turquoise, the red, which is the orange, and the medium green. Those were the only ones that remained from the original set, along with, like I said, the medium green and the red. So kind of went through an evolution of colors. Fiesta comes out with a new color of the year every year since they started back. I'll talk more about that in a second, but for the last, 40 years or so, when they sort of came back online with Fiesta, where they do a color of the year for 2025, which is when this video is being shot. The color of the year is linen, which is sort of a different creamy off-white. Not my favorite, but it is pretty, especially in some of the pieces. So in 1973, Fiesta was discontinued altogether. It just wasn't around. They stopped producing. The Homer Laughlin company was making other lines of dinnerware and tableware and stuff, but Fiesta was discontinued. But in 1986, it came back. So it took a break for 10, 12 years-ish, and then it came back. And so since 1986, that's when they've done the color of the year. And of course, the pieces that they offer in the line have changed from year to year. But as of today, there have been 56 colors in the line. And that's, I think, part of what I love so much about it is that it is colorful. And some people enjoy sticking with the same color for all of their Fiesta pieces, which is beautiful in its own right. But I love the colorful nature of it. I like to mix and match, and I like to see all the colors together. I'm glancing over here because I have my rack that has the majority of my Fiesta on it over there. So another thing that I like about Fiesta ware is that I believe that most of the pieces, if not all the pieces, at least all the pieces that I've tried in the oven so far, are oven safe. I believe up to 450. So if you're reheating something on a platter, or you have a covered casserole dish or whatever it is, you can put it in the oven and you can cook it, bake it in there, or you can reheat it in there, which is great. The other thing that I like is that I do have a few older pieces that have a little bit of, they're chipped a little bit. but they're not rough. You don't have to worry about cutting yourself, and it might not be visually beautiful if it's a little bit chipped, but it's not dangerous for you, which is great. So let me go through a few of the pieces, a handful of the pieces that I looked up to share with you value so you get an idea of what's happening. Let's see, the bowl with the lid, which I don't think this qualifies because I think this is actually the covered casserole, but this is in the blue, the cobalt blue. I don't think this is the exact piece that they're referring to, but if you have an original, it's similar to this. I think the bowl is a little different shape, but that goes for between $1,500 and $2,000. So some of these things can be very valuable. I obviously did not pay that much for this one, but in fact, I think that this bowl and this lid weren't together because the coloration is slightly different. I could be wrong, but so that's kind of interesting about that. Another thing that I'm not going to get into in this video because there's a whole system and algorithm, if you will, for the embossing on the bottom, but most Fiesta pieces say Fiesta or it's embossed in the bottom. This one is tone on tone because it's actually stamped into the pottery, but it does say Fiesta. There are other pieces. This one is also embossed, but it's in a circular design. Let's see if I have, that one's embossed. This one is stamped. I don't know if you can see it, but it's stamped with the Fiesta logo and information. That it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any less valuable, and it's all genuine. They just have various incarnations of how they are marked on the bottom. And some pieces don't even have a mark, but it's still genuine Fiesta. So it kind of runs the gamut. Okay, so we talked about our bowl. Let's see, the round disc-shaped juice pitcher. I don't have it in gray. If I had it in gray, depending on the condition, that pitcher could go for up to $2,500. I don't have it in the gray, but I do have it in this might be the light green, actually. But this is an older piece. So I would say that you could probably get, like if you're talking about eBay or if you try to sell it at an antique shop or things like that. And there are dealers that travel around to flea markets and antique fairs and things that sell Fiesta. But I would say that something like this pitcher in this color, probably between $100 and $300, depending. It does have a chip on the inside, so that'll decrease the value quite a bit, but very pretty. I also have this. This is the water pitcher. And I don't know how much this goes for, but I believe this is part of the original, the oldie old collection. So probably is worth some money. I don't let that deter me though. I try to use my Fiesta all the time, whether it's super valuable or not. What else? I don't have a cake plate. I do have several plates that I'll show you in a second that are in the radioactive red, the orange. By the way, they are radioactive. People have tested it with one of those meters. I don't know what they're called, but it's not dangerous. You can use them, but because of the dye and the process used to make them that color, the old ones anyway, they were very slightly radioactive. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the cake plate. So I don't have a cake plate. But if you were to find one, if you see one, it's similar to, this is a luncheon size plate, so it's going to be a little bit bigger, but it's similar to this, except it's completely flat instead of being slightly raised on the side. but it looks a lot like that. It's just totally flat. If you found one of those in the orange, the red, it would be around $3,000. What? So that's amazing. But just any of the other colors are going to go for around $1,500. So, and I would like to say that you never know what and where you're going to find Fiesta items. I was at a flea market in Okoboji, which is in Iowa, several years ago, and they just set up tables and their vending sites in a big field, and so there's dirt and grass and whatever underneath there. And so I was walking through this one vendor, and it was mostly junk. They had, I don't know, just various things. Some of it was dirty, but it was sitting out on tables, just piled on there. And I get to the end of a table, and there was, I thought I spotted with my keen eyes, I thought I spotted a piece of a Fiesta bowl. There was some dirt in the bowl. There were also a bunch of old Hot Wheels Matchbox cars and something else in there. And as I got closer, I knew that that's what it was. And it was actually this bowl, beautiful serving bowl. This isn't part of the oldie old original colors. But anyway, there was no tag on it. And so I flagged the woman over that was her booth, her vending station. She was wearing some fleece pajama bottoms and some house shoes, and her hair was kind of like this. She came over and she said, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm just wondering about this bowl. And so she lifted up this bowl and she dumped out the Matchbox cars and the dirt that was in there. And I said, I don't see a tag on there. Is it for sale? And she said, oh yeah, I don't know. How about $5? And I went, okay, great. So I only paid $5 for this bowl. I'll tell you what, whether it is a newer piece or a middle-aged Fiesta piece or an older one, it's worth more than $5. So I got a steal there. I don't think she even knew what it was that she had on her table. But and I have seen Fiesta on occasion at places like a Goodwill for only a few dollars. But that's a little bit more rare, I think, to find those there. The 10-inch, I do have some dinner plates. Oh, this is a 10-inch dinner plate in the forest green. What year do we say that came out? Oh, 1950. I have it in various colors. Here's one in the red and the yellow. I've got the blue, the light green. I have an ivory one, several. Anyway, these go for around $75 each, which is great. And last but not least, I'll tell you about the juice tumblers. I have a set of 6 in these, and these go for about $100 each. So, I mean, I've got about $600 just in these tumblers, these juice glasses, sitting on my shelf, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so now I thought I would just sort of go through some of the pieces that I like the most, or that I use the most in my collection, so you can see what I got going. So I have 2 of these pitchers. I forget the name of this color, but it's pretty. It's sort of like a cinnamon red. As I showed you before, I have some of these platters. I do have, I have a set of 4. I have the pink, the turquoise, and I don't remember what that other color is called. I do have some of the smaller platter in this maroon. I want to say that this color, sort of a plummy maroon, was like in the 80s. I'd have to look that up, but not really sure why, but when I make Asian like stir fry or orange chicken, things like that. I like to serve it on these. I'm not sure why. I just do. What else do we have? I showed you this bowl. We use these all the time. I think this is a fruit bowl, I think what these are called, but I have a few of those, and then the smaller version I have in the yellow and the forest green. I do have a full set of these we always call them chop plates. I'm not sure if that's actually what it is, but they're 14-inch. And these are good for bigger meals, like Thanksgiving dinner, when you need a little bit more room than the 10-inch for all your stuff. Or sometimes I use them for serving because they're beautiful. Or if I've prepared things like a burger, when I'm in the kitchen, it's a nice big surface. I'll put some on there before I put them on our grill pan or whatever it is we're doing. These, I have quite a few of these in all different colors. It's a pretty peachy orange color. The turquoise, dark blue. This is a nice size. It's like a cereal bowl size, or for sides or salads or things. So I do like those. Now, these are some examples of the mixing bowls, and they were graduated in size. They nested together. These two I did not get these together. They're not from the same set. This bowl actually was given to me by my friend Kathy. And then this bowl, my ex-husband bought several years ago for, I want to say it was like $250 or somewhere in that range. But I believe this one is an original from the late 30s. So if we had a full set of the nested bowls and they were in decent condition, those sets are going for like around $700 to $1,000. Pretty cool. I also have, it's a different shape. This is also a mixing bowl. I love this bowl. And this is an old one. It does have several chips in it, so it's not in perfect condition, but I do love that one. And these are not new. I mean, these are not old. They're newer, but these are the chili bowl. It's good for like pudding desserts or chili or soups or things. So I love those. I have several of those. I do have some of these, sort of a compote dish in several colors. That's pretty. These, I'll show you, I just got these. So these are new, and they were purchased new. Sort of a medium-sized dish, so maybe about the same content size as those little guys, but not as big as some of the other ones. But yeah, I got those for my birthday from my mom and dad, so I love those. Oh, I'll show you this. This is old, and I don't know how much this is worth, but I know it's not cheap. This is the sugar bowl and the creamer with the stick handle. Now, one thing about this is that I'm pretty sure that this sugar bowl would have had a lid. I don't have the lid, so that's going to decrease the value a little bit, but isn't that pretty? Love those. And then this is hard to say, but this is a 3-tiered serving tray for cookies or whatever. That is in all three are in the radioactive red color. And it is genuine Fiesta. You can see the stamps on the bottom. And Fiesta actually did produce specialty items like this from time to time throughout their history. But also sometimes pieces have been made into things by an individual person that has been sold. So it's hard to know for sure, but I love this piece. This came from my ex-husband had a bunch of Fiesta pieces when we got together. And then when we divorced, he didn't want any of the Fiesta and said, "Do you want it? You can take it." And I said, "Yeah." So I got a lot of those things, including this piece, which I love. I also have a Fiesta gravy boat. This is actually number 2. I had one very similar and same color that accidentally got broken, but I got a new one. So that's the gravy boat. What else do I have? Oh, here. This is not as common. This shape serving bowl is somewhat, you see it more often, but in this color, because you know that it had to have been produced either in the original collection in the late 30s, early 40s, or when did it come back? In 1959, for a few years, they brought this back. So this is an older piece, and it's great. Great size. And like I said, you can put them in the oven. This is a new piece. But isn't that pretty? Love that color. Nice big serving bowl for mashed potatoes or whatever we have going on. Did I show you? I think I did show you some of the dinner plates when we were talking about the cake plate. I have some soup bowls. Great size. Again, more rare. I have, I think, 2 of these in the soup bowl in the red. This is the dark blue. But those are great. I love those. Oh, and I don't know if this one is the fruit bowl or the salad bowl, but it's a little bit shallower. But isn't that pretty? I love that. I think this is one of the older pieces. But yeah, so I just thought I would share with you some of my collection. It makes me happy. I don't use most of it daily, but we do use it pretty frequently from time to time. I will say that, like, my husband uses the juice glasses every day. Some of these little bowls we use on a regular basis. But this is what I pull out when we're having company for dinner. I do each place setting in a mixed match of colors, and I just think it's fun. So that's a little bit about Fiesta Ware and the Homer Laughlin Company and what we got going on. A little tour of my collection. And yeah, thanks for joining me. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you on this. Maybe you have some Fiesta, or someone in your family does or did. Let me know. Or if you're out and about and you spot some Fiesta at a discount store or a garage sale or whatever it is, you never know how much that's going to be worth. So at any rate, until next time, give this video a thumbs up, hit that like button if you enjoyed chatting with me today. Subscribe if you haven't. It does help out my channel. It's totally free, and that way you'll be notified when I post a new video. And yeah, take care. I'll see you in the next video.